Surrounding the Secret Service and whether the highest level of security was in place for this dinner. Our Matt Gregory continues our team coverage.
So the quick answer is no. Saturday night, there was not the highest level offered by Secret Service for security. That would be a national special security event. But talking to former DHS leadership as well as former Secret Service leadership, they said the Correspondents' Dinner has really never had that level of security. But after the weekend's events, they're wondering if it won't get a second look. Saturday night's frightening scene.
I heard pop, 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 which I figured to be gunshots.
As a gunman tried to breach the White House Correspondents' Dinner ballroom until Secret Service stopped him.
We heard Secret Service pulling out the president.
Today, there's a different light on the dinner's security.
I think everyone is now Monday morning quarterbacking pretty aggressively.
I think they had everything in place they needed.
We talked to former Assistant Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Douglas Smith, and former Deputy Director of Secret Service, A.T. Smith. Now, they both said the highest level of security is what's called a National Special Security Event. In D.C., that would be things like the NATO conference in 2024.
Obviously, the biggest factor is just size. This was while a significant event, it's not hundreds of thousands of people the way you would get at a footprint for a Super Bowl or World Cup.
Both men told me an NSSC would call for more in-depth security checkpoints and a significant shutdown of the area.
Unless you're willing to buy out the entire hotel, create a security perimeter around the entire hotel, and then, weeks in advance be screening before they come in, there's only so much you can do.
Having said that, I think the work the Secret Service did in advancing this particular event was about as close to an NSSC as you can get without calling it one.
Smith says keep this in mind. The White House Correspondents' Dinner is a private event that has, not in any of our experts' recent memory, gotten that designation.
So that's the most important thing to remember. The Secret Service did their job. The president was protected, the vice president, cabinet members, guests in the ballroom.
But both expect Secret Service to do an evaluation of the area where the gunman breached.
I think as they do what we would call a hot wash after this, they'll see perhaps where their perimeters they could have pushed out further.
My recommendation would be the middle perimeter. As we said, that innermost perimeter where the president and the vice president, first lady, and all the other protectees were, was adequately addressed and handled and evacuated.
Now, former Deputy Director A.T. Smith and sources have told me that the White House and Secret Service are going to be going over and evaluating that plan, just like they alluded to there, and we'll get a better idea after that what changes may or may not be coming to the president's security detail at events like the Correspondents' Dinner. Outside the Washington Hilton, I'm Matt Gregory, WUSA 9.